by Happenstance. I'm Kendra, and it is time for another episode of Makes Monday Optics. So today we are going to discuss our word of the week first, and then I will show you the crochet things that I have finished and are on my hook and all the things yarny, right? So as you will notice, we are once again in the outside here at the park, and the bugs are once again loud, and I believe there's a lawnmower going, and as I've mentioned before, there is a zoo. Should be lots of air quotes. I don't know. I feel like they're appropriate today. There's a zoo here in this park, and so the monkey has been screaming a lot. So you might hear that. If you do, yeah, it's just a thing. So first, let's discuss our word of the week, and then we will move on to the things I've been working on. So optics is a noun meaning the scientific study of sight and the behavior of light, or the properties or transmission and deflection of other forms of radiation. It can also, in North America, typically in a political context, mean the way in which an event or course of action is perceived by the public. So optics is a term you hear a lot now, but it has less and less to do with physical eyes. But today, we're going to talk about eyes. That's part of it. And also, there's apparently some light coming through this tree over here. So I'm going to be a little dappled, I'm assuming, and that might not be good as far as the visuals, but I don't know. It's what we're doing, so we're just going to roll with it. Okay, so the first thing that is off my hook this week is this, which you all may recognize is my, well, people had been calling my eyeball shawl, but it actually has a name. It is called the I-E-Y-E Got Your Back shawl. And it is now available in the world. If you are a member of my Patreon at the Peachlets pattern pile level, it is available to you along with all the other patterns that are up there. And being a patron is the only way to get a copy currently of my Joy Shawl. So this is available there. Also, you can now download this pattern from Ravelry. It is a paid for pattern, so if you're interested in that. So if you were interested in getting your hands on this pattern, you can go check that out. I made this version out of Red Heart Super Saver, and I'm going to use this as my Halloween costume because, well, it is adorable this way, and I like how it hangs. This one actually hasn't been washed yet. The stitching will hang a little, it hasn't relaxed, which is what happens when you wash acrylic, but it looks like this in the back. But if I wear it this way, and I haven't decided what I'm going to wear on the bottoms, if I'm going to wear like black leggings or what, but I'm going to be Mike Lazowski for Halloween from Monsters Inc. and Monsters University and all the monstery things. So that is a thing that you also might consider doing. I might, I think, put buttons. I think I put buttons on these ends because then they kind of hang almost like weights, and then I will just stick them through the holes on here, which might be what I do for the Halloween thing, because I am going to be doing like a trunk or treat thing for 4-H, which would involve, I need the ability to like, the maintenance person just drove by and looked at me funny. I need the ability to use my arms and things, so having this stay on the front would be good. So I probably will do that for Halloween, but it's done. So the next thing that is done is this, which is another pattern, which is going to make its way into the world shortly. I'm calling it my warm and smooshy. Why? Because it is both warm and smooshy. And it has so many different ways that you can wear this cowl. It's got a decent amount of size to it. This one is made out of 1 cake of Lion Brand mandala, but you can wear it with like this way, like the ribbing out. Because of the stitching on it, you can wear it with this kind of stripey doodle out, or this side out. It's got a lot of options. So I'm playing around with that. I'm gonna make another one or two, a couple other colors, and then this pattern will be public. I will post pictures of the other colors as I kind of work through them. But I really enjoyed working on this pattern, and I'm really looking forward to it being cold enough to actually wear a cowl. Now, to discuss the design process. This was not originally going to be a cowl. This was going to be a sweater. So I had, about a month ago I guess at this point, I had started making a cardigan for myself. It was gray, and I actually have a decent number of inches into it. I haven't decided if I'm going to finish it or not. There's a good chance it's getting frogged. So I had had this vision and this idea for a pattern in my head for a long time, and it's based on a play on words. And so I wanted to, you know, start working on it, and I did with the only yarn that I was thinking that I had enough quantity to make a full-size sweater for myself. But then, as I started working on it, I realized that a cardigan was not the best format for the stitching that I wanted to do, that it really would work better and be easier to explain if it was worked fully in the round. So I measured myself, figured out how many inches I needed, did the math on my gauge, and figured out, you know, how much ribbing I needed. And so I made the ribbing, or I started to make the ribbing, and I tried on just, you know, a little bit of the ribbing, and it fit, I thought. But then I wanted 3 inches of ribbing at the bottom, and I suffered through them, texting Steve, my happenstance, the whole way, going, I want to finish my 3 inches of ribbing. I want to do the next part, but I'm going to finish them. So I finished them. Then the next day I got up, and I started working on the next part, and it wasn't too long after where I was like, this is not going to be the appropriate size for me, at least not to have the kind of drape that I was looking for. Like, it would fit around my person, but it was not necessarily going to fit me as intended for the pattern. So I decided it would fit my daughter, and I tried it on her, and it fit her pretty well at that point. So I was like, cool, I'll just make this one a kid's size, and then I'll make myself another one, and I just went with it. And so I started chugging along, and everything was great. And then I actually finished a cake, and I started in on a second cake, and I was looking at it, I'm like, you know, I don't know if this is going to fit her quite how I'm envisioning either. So I waited, and the next day she got up, and I had her put it on. I was like, firstly, it's going to be too long, like the proportions weren't right for something that she would wear. I actually think it'll make a really cute, like, kid's sweater dress if I tweak it, but it wouldn't match her taste, so there'd be no point in me making it. And so I decided that she needed it to be a little bit bigger. Well, in this process, I forget what I was doing, but I stuck it around my neck, like so, and I was like, hey, I like that. That's so warm and smooshy, hence the warm and smooshy name. And so then I just went ahead and I tore out the second skein I had put in, ripped back a little bit, and then I just added the edging that I liked, and the warm and smooshy was born, and it is super warm and smooshy, and it's so cuddly. And also, if it's like cold, you can also kind of pull it up like this, like if it's misting or whatever, without being like a full hat commitment, which I like. So I'm very excited. This was one of those happy accident patterns, and I'm excited to get it out to people. So that will be a thing as well. Next thing that I have finished is the second Tiny Tales blanket for our buzzwordathon of the word and. So if you haven't seen the other videos here, I am doing this thing with my kids where we are reading all of the picture books that we own that have the word and in the title. And so through a number of Kendra rule things, we are deciding what color. Each book counts for a color, and so they pick the books, and then it corresponds to the color, and then I add a random color from stash to the blanket. And this one is the second one that I have completed. The first one is right here. So here's blanket number 1, which still needs the ends woven in. I need to add like 12 inches of stitching to it, and I have the ball of yarn sitting at home on my counter. I just keep forgetting to grab it whenever I sit down with the blanket, so I need to finish that. But this is blanket number 2, and so you can see how they're very different, but they're all kind of like the same concept, and it will mean that each of my kids can have a blanket, because I've actually started, I'm like 2/3 of the way through blanket number 3. So these will be nice couch blankets. They're big enough to like cover them, but not so big that they are just going to be a huge mess on my floor. I like how they fold up, and I'm just really loving how the colors on this one turned out. There were a couple of color combinations that I went through where I was like, ooh, I should do something else with that. So it got the wheels turning on some ideas, which, you know, I need more ideas. Like, I need a hole in my head. Or I need a hole in my head to let all those ideas just like fall out. That would probably be more effective. That's what I'm thinking. I have been doing a wee bit of charity crafting, which I realized I should talk about because I haven't shown it anywhere. I don't intend to show you what I've been making because I have feelings about that. But I also realized I should probably mention that I am doing it so that you would know about the organization if it was something that you were interested in. So frequently when it comes to charitable crafting, a lot of the organizations are religious based, and being that I am atheist, I have a lot of issues with a lot of the organizations. Like, even though I agree with the idea of the charity, I disagree with the stakes and the hoops they put on that charity, so I won't donate things to them. And I found a charity that I actually was on board with their ideas, and they were open and welcoming to all people of all faiths, or thankfully non-faiths, because frequently there are things that are open to people of all faiths, but that doesn't mean people who have no faith or whose faith does not believe in a higher power. Anyways, you know what I mean. Frequently it's like people of all faiths, atheists not welcome. So I stumbled upon this organization who had a goal that I agreed with, and also was welcoming of all people being involved in their cause. And I liked that because I didn't feel put out or like shunned by the group because of my religious beliefs. So the group that I came across was called Welcome Blanket, and what they are doing is gathering 40 by 40 inch blankets. They can be crocheted, knitted, quilted, all sorts of things. And they are giving them to people who are leaving the immigrant detention centers. So, like, basically for people who are waiting for asylum hearings and such, they are providing these blankets because these people don't have things, and they certainly have not gotten the kindest welcome. That is a cause that I have a lot of feelings about, and I think it's really important to do something, and I frequently feel very helpless, like there's nothing that I can do other than voting, but like I can't vote currently, like this time of year, you know. But I will vote when it's time. So I have feelings about that particular issue, which means that it is a charity that I'm willing to get involved in. If you go to welcomeblanket.org, you can find more about it. And so I've been making blankets to send to this organization. Now, the blankets themselves, the quantity and the like, what they look like, I am not sharing on the social medias. I have feelings about charitable giving publicly, and especially when it comes to the crafty realm, because, you know, that's where I hang out. Sometimes I think that it can be that people are gaining some sort of like social credit for having done these good deeds, and I don't think that you should be doing charitable things with the intent of personal gain. Like, to me, that is you monetizing your good deeds. It's a similar way that I have some problems with large companies getting tax breaks for their charitable donations, because I just don't see, you should do good things because it's a good thing to do, not because you are getting something in return, right? So with that in mind, I decided that any charitable crafting I do, I won't post the finished product. And frankly, I wasn't going to talk about it at all, but then I was thinking about it, and I had seen posts from the Welcome Blanket group on Instagram, and they were basically trying to drum up more people to be active. And I also know that there are some of you out there that might share similar views to me, that might also feel put out by a number of organizations or feel unwelcomed to participate in their charitable causes because of the beliefs that you hold. So I thought that I would put out there that that is an opportunity. You can look into it if it's something you want to do, but a lot of my crafting time, other than these things, has gone there, and I haven't been talking about it. So that's that. So now let's move on to some things that I can show you. The first thing we'll talk about is this, which is the giant black sweater, I guess is what it's called for the moment. And this giant black sweater is going to be made out of Lion Brand Pound of Love, and it is solid black, and it is for me because it is solid black. It's going to be a bit of a test to stay with. For one, because it can be hard to see, so I can only work on this in certain lighting, but also because to make the size sweater that I am looking to make, this is the redo of the Warm and Smooshy concept, but sweaterified into my fun pun, which I will tell you about when I get to that point where the pattern is fully happening. But I'm making this one to my pattern specs, and it will be going on for quite a while. I'm hoping that 1 pound of love will be enough yarn. I actually haven't done the math to figure out if that's going to be enough yarn for me or if I'm going to need another pound of love. I mean, I have plenty of pounds of love of my own, and I want to cover them all in yarn. So we'll see how that works out. I have had people suggest that, I could stripe it or something, and if I got really desperate and was not enjoying it, or if I ran out of yarn or whatever, I could. But I really want a basic black sweater for the winter because I think it would be a great underpiece for all of the cowls and scarves and shawls and things that I have, to not have everything be patterned, not have everything be bright and sparkly, even though, I love me some sparkles and some rainbows. Not everything needs to be that way. So maybe if I do this as like a nice base layer, then I can zhuzh it up with the other things. So I'm working on that. It's kind of been backburnered for the last few days, but I'll get back to it. This will just be like a slow and steady project, I figure. And I think the last thing that I have that is on my hook and of any like notable size is this, and this is a scrap timber project. This is yet another Simply Satisfying rug mat. Just can't get enough of these. This is my pattern. It is available in Peachless Pattern Pile if you're interested. It is my go-to for rugs. I enjoy making it. It is there's just enough like change, like each row is different, which I like, but it does have a repeating pattern, which makes it, I guess, more palatable to the general populace. But I'm making this out of, I have a bunch of scraps of this red, which is Burnett's Handicrafter. And then I also have a bunch of this like pink peaches and cream. And so I just went through, so I'm trying to clear up those cotton scraps. I talked about it a little before. And I'm just kind of trying to use those up. This will be kind of maybe Valentine's-y. I don't know if it'll be for me or how we'll end up gifting it. Either way, it'll be a nice functional rug when it's done. And the days that I was working, I started this actually immediately after I finished that rainbow one that I showed you in the last episode. And the rainbow one, I was just so into it, and then it ended. And so this one, I started like super gung-ho, and then I got obsessed with optical things and my I Got Your Back shawl. So that's how that went. So scrap timber overall is going fairly well as far, like I'm using up a lot of scraps. These Tiny Tails blankets have used up a lot. I still have a lot of acrylic scraps. I was trying to decide like what I wanted to do with them. I had some ideas I just haven't gotten to yet. I kind of would like to, last year I made myself a cardigan out of a bunch of scrap yarn. Something like that might happen. Also, I'm going to do another Warm and Smooshy right now out of mandala. And then I might do one out of scrap yarn. I'm waiting till I finish these Tiny Tails blankets first though, because they're getting first dibs on all the scraps. And then kind of whatever I have left, I'll start putting those into other things. So I don't know if I'll get it all done by the end of the month, but I'm making a good effort towards it. I think the Tiny Tails blankets for sure will be done by the end of Scrap Timber. It's been a nice like mental way for me to kind of plan what projects to work on. I mean, I also gave myself the freedom this year to do other projects as well, and all of the things I've been making have been made out of yarn that's been in stash for a while. So it's stuff that, it's not necessarily scraps, but it was not newly purchased, completely new envisioning. It's using what I have on hand. So it still kind of feels like it falls in the same realm. So I hope that your crafting is going as well as can be expected, and if you are unhappy with the item you're working on, perhaps you should just put it on a different part of your body. So far that has been working for me this month, and we will see how it works in the future. Also, I wanted to mention I had all of those Joy Shawls last time that you got to see. If you are interested in the Joy Shawl pattern, it is now up on my Patreon. The PDF pattern is up there. It is a patron exclusive for this year. So if you join my Patreon at the $2 or higher level, you immediately gain access to that pattern. So if that is something you're interested in, head over to Hooked by Happenstance on Patreon. I'm thinking I'm going to try and do this again 2 weeks from now, so there will be no Makes Monday next week, but hopefully you will see me then, and sometime in the middle. I don't know. You just never know. Make sure you're subscribed down below, because these videos, I don't have a schedule. They come up intermittently, and sometimes you get loads and loads of Hooked by Happenstance, and sometimes it's a little droughty around here, but it all turns out okay. Anyways, I will see you all next time.